Hello and welcome to the sort of final exam review or the final day wrap up for Upward Bound Integrated Math 2. Today I just want to, in this video, it's not a lecture video, it's not something that we talked about in class, but I did want to throw out just sort of an idea of what you could review, as well as give you some insights on what your last day for math is going to look like this summer. So again, this will be a quick video, but it'll also give you a place that if you want to ask some specific questions, I can definitely throw some answers in there. And I want you to be successful. So that's kind of why I want to do this. So during day 10, all of our students, and day 10 being our last class day, that's kind of the way I structured this class, was to look at the number of days that we were actually spending together. Hopefully not the same number of days that you worked on math. I'm hoping you probably worked on math a few other days outside just the 10-day limit. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take Mastery Challenge number 9. And that will be scored on the spot, and there will be revisions available if that's something that you need to be able to do. Okay, but you're going to take Mastery Challenge number 9. In addition to that, you're going to be taking your post-test, which I kind of deem as your final exam for this class. So you're going to take your post-test. Probably before that, I don't know why that's number 3. Your workbooks are going to be turned in. That way I can score them while you're taking your post-test, and it will give me an opportunity to kind of know a lot about what your grade's going to be before you guys even leave for the day. So I think that's a great thing to be able to tell. I want you to know what your grade looks like, and hopefully you've been filling out the student score sheet as we've gone, and you can kind of tell what your grade is. You know what you have to do to earn the grade that you want. So that being said, again, you're going to turn your workbooks in actually before your post-test, or kind of I'll probably trade you a test for a workbook. Okay. And then after you're done with your post-test, which it's here's kind of the secret sauce. It's the same as the pre-test. So I gave you I think 15 minutes on day 1 to do as much of the pre-test as you could. I'm giving you much more time in day 10 to do the same amount of work. So I don't think it'll take you the whole class period. It is multiple choice, so I did that to kind of speed things up a little bit. Sometimes it speeds things up, sometimes it doesn't. But that's for you to find out. And then after you take your test, I want you to revise any non-passing mastery challenges. Okay? And that's kind of your job for the rest of the class period. And honestly, I'll stay in the classroom as long as they'll let me, and as long as I still have students that are working hard and working towards a goal. If you need to pass every mastery challenge, I'm not probably going to put a whole lot of effort into the last day. But if you need one more to bump up a grade, then I'll stay a little bit later if you need to, and it works out in everybody's schedules. So let's look at at kind of what the test is going to look like, as far as kind of the breakdown of the things that we covered and what some of those problems may look like, and how many. This is kind of the cool thing is the number over here. As we go through, I just want you to note that is the number of questions on the post-test that are kind of assigned to what we covered that day. So in day 1, we talked about exponent properties, so the power rule, the product rule, and the quotient rule, and also combinations of those properties. There are 6 questions on the post-test that are related to that. The day 2 material was 1 and 2 step equations. There are 6 questions related to 1 and 2 step equations. On day 3, we talked about distributing and solving, or solving with exponents. And in some way, shape, or form, there are 4 questions that I would relate to those concepts. Okay. Day 4, we talked about system of equations using elimination. There are 2 that I'm asking you to use elimination, and I think they're pretty well set up to use elimination as well. On day 5, we looked at systems of equations using substitution, and there are the same amount. There are 2 questions that I would recommend using substitution. Keep in mind that throughout all this, I should have probably said, but it should be implied, you don't get to use your workbooks. You get a pencil, a calculator, and that's it. Okay. So you're not using your workbooks because I need that time to be able to grade all of them. So that's kind of how that's breaking down. So again, 2 on elimination, 2 on substitution. And then day 6, we talked about polynomials, adding, subtracting, and multiplying. That's the arithmetic part. There are 4 questions that deal with adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. Okay. The day 7 stuff, factoring trinomials, there are 4 questions related to that. A little breakdown, a further breakdown of this. There are 2 where you're going to factor out the common factor, and then 2 where you fully factor a trinomial into 2 binomials. So I know it's a really hard topic and it takes a little bit of time and effort, but there's only 2 problems related to that. Day 8, we talked about graphing quadratics. There's 1 problem that's going to be about graphing quadratics. So you're going to have to, graph your parabola and see what it looks like. Probably make a table of values for that. And then on day 9, just the last time we met, we solved quadratics by factoring. So that was the set it equal to 0, factor the left-hand side, and then use your zero product property. There's 1 problem related to that. So that's kind of the breakdown of what the test is going to look like. Again, all that material is in your workbook. I highly recommend studying, but you also see that there's a lot of carryover from some of the early topics to the later topics. I mean, if you have a hard time solving 1 and 2 step equations, then elimination, substitution, and even solving by factoring is going to be difficult. But if you know really well how to solve by factoring, you probably know really well how to solve 1 and 2 step equations. I will say one of the harder standalone topics would be the exponent properties. That's not really ever covered again throughout the course of what we did. So I would highly recommend, studying those exponent properties. And that again is from day 1, the power rule, product rule, and quotient rule. And we had a lot of students have to retake that mastery challenge. So with it being 6 questions, it's kind of heavy as far as the weighting goes on the final exam. So I would spend a little bit of time dedicated towards studying those. Work through, cover up your answers on your practice pages and do those problems again. Maybe come up with your own problems, that kind of stuff. The systems of equations stuff combined, kind of these 2 sections, had a lot of students struggle through those. And so I would recommend, really know how to use the different methods of substitution and elimination. When it comes down to it on the test, it is multiple choice. So, a lot of times you could go through and find your first variable, X or Y, whichever one you find, and see if all the answers have that first one there. And if it turns out that there's only one, I found out that X equals 6 and there's only one answer that X equals 6, I could probably jump to a conclusion that would be the answer if I correctly found that X equals 6. I might then again go back and check my Y versus the Y that the problem gives me. But there are ways to kind of speed up this process. And then when it comes down to it, solving systems of equations, I can't really tell on a multiple choice test and I can't hold you to, did you use substitution when it says substitution? Did you use elimination when it says elimination? Really, on those ones, solve them however you want to. Maybe you get really good at one method and just use that one method. But some of them are set up, I would say, to use substitution or to use elimination. And I would strongly, I guess, deter you from trying to use the other method. It's not going to work out that well. Okay? And that's really it. Again, the factoring trinomials, like I said, there's two of greatest common factor. There's two of turning them into two binomials, the parentheses and what multiplies to this but adds to this. There's only two of those, so take them as you will. Try your hardest on those. So that being said, I'm going to leave it there. Again, if you have any questions, please leave the comments strictly kind of centered around questions on your post-test. Again, I want you to do better, or I want you to do better than your pre-test. I want you to show that you've learned something from this class, and I'm only here to help. I'm here, part of my job is to grade things strictly, but the other part is I'm trying to help you. So use that help and try to, like I said, try to do better. Nobody wants to stay stagnant in their grading. So all that being said, all that being done, I've had a great time with you guys this summer, and I just want to see you do better in your classes next fall, and hopefully this was a way to do it. My hope is going to be that I will return your workbooks to you. If you want to keep them, if you want me to toss them, I can. I don't need you to keep them, but you went through a lot of work finishing that workbook, so I'd like you to know that you can have access to that if you want it. All right. Good luck on the final. Again, any questions, throw them in the comments. I will respond as quick as I can. I think everything alerts me on my phone, so I should be able to get to those comments pretty quickly. So good luck, study hard. Nothing that was really worth it comes easy. So good job, and we'll see you in class.